Okay, this is the housing report for the third quarter for 2019. And one of the questions that we get probably more often than anything in the last, certainly the last 3 or 4 months, has been what's going to happen if there's an economic slowdown or even a recession in housing. And it's a good question. And we don't think that they'll have a significant impact. And the reason we look at historical data to take a look at it to guide us on that. And in Michigan, if you look at the last 6 recessions, 4 of the last 6 recessions, home values actually went up anywhere from 2 to 4%. The only 2 they went down were 2 recessions that were housing-based recessions. Of course, the last one was the one we remember the most and was the most severe of the 6. But in general, if the recession isn't caused by housing, then housing has fared very well in those recessions. And in fact, if there's an economic slowdown, housing will not be the cause of this time either. Housing actually is very healthy in historical terms. Inventories are, although they've been rising, they are lower than historically we've seen. Demand is up, household formations are up, incomes are rising, employment is up, and actually mortgage debt is down. Those second mortgages that were one of the causes of the last recession are almost gone for the most part in the marketplace. So overall, if there is a slowdown, housing will go into that and fare very well. The caveat to that for us being in Michigan, of course, is that we are very auto-related still, and probably the one sector that will be affected by a slowdown is auto. So we might feel it more than the rest of the country, but overall, one of the things to keep in mind is that long-term demographics beat short-term economics. Recessions last usually in months, not years, but you have your home for years, not months. So the reality is that over the next 15 to 20 years, the demographics that really drive demand for housing are very strong. You have all the different demographic groups. You have baby boomers, you have Gen X, you have Gen Y, millennials, and you've got Gen Zs, all moving towards some sort of housing-related action over the next 15 years or so. So if you look at the long-term outlook, you'll see that the strong demand for housing is very strong. There'll be ups and downs, there'll be economic slowdowns, there'll be economic accelerators. All those things will happen, but overall, we think that the long-term outlook is great. And even in the short term, if there's a slowdown, we think housing will fare very, very well for that as well. So what are the specifics for Southeast Michigan in the last quarter or so? Well, inventories are up. Available homes for sale are up, and they're up across all price points, which is new. We've not seen that before. We've had the lower price points, inventories have been shrinking year over year consistently, as that's been the strongest demand point. But we're seeing inventories rising, which means demand is settling back a little bit. In fact, demand has actually been settling for a couple of years now, which is actually, in the silver lining, sort of a good thing, in that it's settling our market down a little bit so that if there is some sort of economic slowdown, we'll be in a better position. We've made some adjustments for that in advance of that. So in general, home values are still rising, not rising as fast, but they're still rising. And the higher the price point, the slower the rise in home values. In fact, in some of the higher price point markets, maybe outside of the core Birmingham, Bloomfield, upper-end markets, you see that upper-end homes that might actually sell for a little bit less this year than last year. Still, over the last 3 or 4 years, an upward trend, but slowing a little bit. So what does this mean for buyers and sellers? Well, for sellers, it means that you need to be aware that the market is shifting, that the velocity of the market has changed, and be aware that if you're not getting a lot of showings, you first of all expect fewer property showings than you had 6 months or a year ago. But if you're not getting activity in the first 30 days, then it's time for an adjustment of price, condition, all those things that you'd look at. And if there's an offer, consider taking that, negotiating at least with the first offer rather than waiting for something better. On the buy side, there will be more to choose from, but also remember that those homes that have been updated and are move-in ready, those will move very quickly. So you have sort of the fast homes that'll still go really fast in 10 days or less in the marketplace, and you've got the rest. which is where the inventory and opportunity is for most buyers, is in that 60% of the market that isn't selling as fast, maybe in the market for 60 or 90 days. That's where the opportunity is. That's also where some of the work is and fixing up the house and all, but the best opportunity is. But in general, keep in mind that the velocity of the market has changed. It is slower than it was, both seasonally this time of year, but also from a long-term trend. So remember that change requires a little more expertise and knowledge. So this is when your realtor comes into play. They can guide you, and it's when that market velocity shifts that's when it's most important to get good counsel as to where your home should be and what decisions you should make. So take advantage of the expertise that you have and that we provide you, and we're looking still forward to an overall good year. Thanks.